Hi, welcome back, Hononegah, Algebra 1. Section 4.2, we're going to write more equations of lines. In Section 4.1, we did lines with just the slope and the y-intercept. So again, continuing in this pattern though, this was in Chapter 3. It was also in Section 4.1. You have to know how to find the slope given 2 points. The change in y over the change in x, or the rise over the run. The formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. This is critical for this chapter. You have to know that from last chapter in order to survive in this chapter. So here we go. I want to just find the slope. So the slope is y minus y. So I went 8 minus negative 1 over 2 minus 5. So again, it doesn't matter the order as long as you're consistent. On the top, I went 8 minus negative 1. So on the bottom, I'd have to go 2 minus 5. So I get a slope of negative 3. Now, point slope form. And this kind of goes into my next slide, so I'm not sure why it's on this one, but y minus y sub 1 slope x minus x sub 1. This, again, is a huge equation that you have to know for this particular chapter. This is called the point slope form. So on the next slide, it actually talks more about this, and so I'm just going to go ahead and move to the next slide. Notice in this equation, the slope is the m. So y minus y sub 1. The y sub 1 is the y value of a point, and the x is the x sub 1 is the x value of a point. So if I know the slope and I know any point, I can write an equation by putting the slope in for the m. So I'd put this number in for m, and then I'd put the x of the point in, and then I'd put the y of the point in. That is called point slope form. So in this next one, I am just going to put it in point slope form. And I understand that most of the time we are never going to allow you to leave it in point slope form. I'm going to get into that more. But for the next one, write the equation in point slope form for a line that passes through the point negative 8, 3 and has a slope of 1/4. So y minus 3 equals, so that's y minus the y of the point. So there's the y of the point equals the slope, parenthesis x minus. Now, the x value of the point is already negative. So x minus negative 8. That is point slope form. Now, again, we are not going to let you leave it in this form very often, but for right now, again, for this particular question, they are only asking me to put it in point slope form, so I can stop right there. So that is what point slope form is, putting the x, the y, and the slope into the form. So what's the next one going to look like? Okay, and again, we're going to leave it in point slope form for just these two examples. So y minus 0 equals the slope x minus 4. Now, technically speaking, you don't need the 0, but I'm just putting the right numbers in the right place. So you try the next one. Go ahead and hit pause. All right, welcome back. Let's see if you get it right. So y minus negative 1. So when I minus a negative, it becomes positive. Slope x minus the x. So that is point slope form. Now, we're going to lead this in. This is not part of it. Nobody else may be doing this, but I'm going to show you the next step in this. So that is point slope form. So if you got that, you are absolutely correct. But what if I wanted you to actually solve this for y? There's 2 steps involved. Okay, and again, this is absolutely correct. Distribute. So I will distribute the negative 2. And then the next step is to subtract the 1. And this is now the answer that we will ask almost every time. That is what we are looking for, and that's called slope-intercept form. So here we go on the next example, and that's what's going to end up happening. When you are given 2 points, then you write the equation of the line, find the slope, put it in slope-intercept form, or excuse me, put it in point-slope form, and then change it into slope-intercept form. This is the top of the mountain. This is as high as this gets. We're going to talk about parallel and perpendicular, which makes it just a little bit higher, but this is basically the most important item here. Find the slope of the picture. So looking at the picture, I can find the slope just by counting. So this goes down 1, 2, 3, 4, so -4, and to the right 2. So the slope of this particular line is -2. Pick one of the 2 points. Okay, so I'm going to pick 1, 2 up here. So I'm going to pick the point 1, 2. And I'm going to put it in point slope form. So y minus 2 equals -2, x minus 1. Notice that I put the y value of the point, the x value of the point, and the slope. Now, finish this by putting it in slope-intercept form. There's 2 steps. One is to distribute, and the next is to add. So I get -2x plus 4. So running through the steps, 1, find the slope. 2, pick a point and write it in point slope form. And 3, solve it for y to put it in slope intercept form. So next one, find the slope. So that's the first step. I need to know what slope is. And this is probably a bit of a trick question, but we're going to do it anyway. Y minus y over x minus x. So I end up getting a slope of 0. And that's probably a little bit misleading. I am going to go through all the steps, but ultimately in the end, you're going to see what's going to happen here. So y minus, pick a point. I'm going to pick the point 1, 4. Y minus 4, 0, x minus 1. Now, the trouble with this is 0 when I distribute is just 0. Adding 4, I just get y equals 4, which makes sense. If I have a line that goes straight across, a y equals 4 line that goes horizontally straight across at 4, then ultimately that has a slope of 0. So this was probably a bit of a trick question to throw in at this particular time. Notationally speaking, this is the point 4, 2, and this is the point 8, 4. So let's find the slope. Slope equals y minus y on top, x minus x on the bottom. So I end up getting a slope of 1/2. Pick a point. So I'm going to pick the point 4, 2. It actually does not matter which point you pick. The answer will still be the same. So I'm going to go y minus the y of the point I'm using equals slope x minus the x of the point I'm using. That would be point slope form. Again, we do not want to leave it in point slope form. I want to distribute and add. So y would equal 1/2 x plus 0. So that would be the answer. You try this next one. This next one is a very good question. If you want to put a big star on this question, this would be the one that looks like the quiz and the test. So try this one by yourself and see if you can get it. All right, welcome back. Here we go. I'm going to find the slope. Y minus y on top, x minus x on the bottom. So 10 minus 4, 3 minus 1. I end up getting a slope of 3. Pick a point. And again, it does not matter which point you pick. And it's always y minus the y of the point, slope, x minus the x of the point. This is called point slope form. Distribute and add. So y would equal 3x plus 0 again, -3 plus 3. That does not always happen. It's probably some bad examples here in that it always ended up being a y-intercept at 0. Let's try another one. This time, word problem. Student council's ordering customized foam hands to promote school spirit. The table shows the cost of ordering a different number of foam hands. Can the situation be modeled by a linear equation? Let's see if it's linear. This goes back to chapter 3 a little bit. It's going up by 2s, and this one's going up by 12. So does that make it linear? Yes. It has a constant rate of change. So again, going back a little bit to what we talked about. If so, then write a linear model. Take 2 points, 434, 646, and let's come up with the slope. Y minus y on top, x minus x on the bottom. I get a slope of 6. Pick a point. I'm going to pick the point 434. And again, putting this in point slope form. Y minus the y of the point we picked, slope, x minus the x of the point we picked. So again, y minus y sub 1, slope, x minus x sub 1. That is the point slope formula. Now, we're not going to want you to leave it in that form. We want to go ahead and distribute the 6 and then add. So we end up getting y equals 6x plus 10 as our model. Anytime we're asking for a model, that is what we're asking for. We are asking for an equation of a particular situation. A couple more here. You try this one by yourself, so go ahead and hit pause. All right, welcome back. We're gonna pay for an installation fee and a monthly charge for an internet service. The table shows the cost. Is it a linear equation? Going back, this is adding 3. Now, this one is adding 126 every time. So every single time it added 126. So yes, this would be linear because it has a constant rate of change. Now, let's find the slope. Pick 2 points, and I just picked the first 2, and find the slope. And some of you may need to use a calculator on this, but y minus y goes on top, x minus x goes on the bottom. So I end up getting 126 over 3, which is 42. Using the point slope form, I'm going to write it up here on top one more time. I go y minus, and I pick the first point, y minus 176 equals slope, so 42, x minus 3. Distributing the 42, and then adding 176. So I end up with y equals 42x plus 50. Now, let's interpret this a little bit, okay? Write the linear model that represents the total cost as a function of the number of months. And that's a horrible 50, and let me rewrite that. Plus 50. So what this means, if I have 1 month, it's going to cost me $92. If I have 2 months, okay, it's going to cost me $134, and so on. So each month it's going to cost me 42 more. So this would be something in which you're going to use the model sometimes to answer a question. So like, how much would it cost if it was 5 months, or how much would it cost if it was 10 months, and so on. This is getting me ready a little bit for the next section, because we're going to start talking about some other stuff. What does reciprocal mean? Well, a reciprocal is literally the opposite fraction. So if I had, let's say, and I'm going to pick one that's easy to, let's say I had a fraction of 2/3, then the reciprocal would be 3/2. So taking a fraction and flipping it is known as the reciprocal. So what is the reciprocal then of 2? Well, the reciprocal, not equal, the reciprocal of 2 would be positive 1/2, because again, it's 2 over 1, and if I flipped it, okay, the reciprocal is when you flip the fraction, will be positive 1/2. Again, your homework assignment is out of the book tonight. It's not listed here on the actual notebook, but if you do have any questions, let your teacher know, and good luck.